Hi, my name's Zephyr Wildman. I just uploaded this week's themed practice on the three malas on my website, zephyryoga.com. So if you missed it, it's there for you to enjoy at your convenience, as well as many others. But I wanted to give you a little insight into this week's theme because it points towards how we actually limit ourselves and reduce ourselves to identifying by I am the thinker, I am the feeler, and I am the doer, and that's it. So the teachings on the three malas comes from Kashmir Shaivism in northern India, and it talks about how we actually have this distorted sense of ourselves, our persona and our character, and describing these malas like lenses of perception that get stained, or there's impurities, or they are the veil of ignorance that mask our soul and pulls it into darkness and duality. So it's an interesting one because our social media, how we communicate, and how we receive information these days kind of perpetuates more and more of this kind of stained glass window, and how we limit ourselves by reducing us to our thoughts, our feelings, and what we do or don't do. And I wanted to kind of unpack it for you to kind of show you that there is a path to clear, to wash, to rinse these lenses, these malas, from the distortion of this darkness or veil of ignorance, and that we can actually touch our true nature, pure conscious awareness, and alight our wakefulness to be able to best discern how we interact, how we live, how we love, and how we just breathe in each day with more meaning and purpose. So malas is an interesting one because we normally associate the mala with a garland that we wear around our neck or around our wrist to do japa, which is a repetition of a mantra practice. Or we wear it as pretty jewelry in the West, but normally that's what it was meant for. But this understanding of the malas is one of a stain on our perception, an impurity or distortion, that veil of ignorance that covers the fullness of what we are, not just who we are. So to unpack it a little bit, the karma mala is associated with your body. And this mala really identifies with your doership, your behavior, actions, what you're doing in your life. And it gets us trapped in this, we're only worth what we're doing or we're not doing. And it ties into this kind of workaholism, this constant valuing the exterior package and documenting it, and social media and just life, how we run it now, how we communicate, how we receive information is really perpetuating this. We just are valuing what we look like, and it's really hard because this package is changing, it's aging, it gets ill, it goes ups and downs. Our family situations, our social situations, our financial everything changes on a physical level. We don't like it, and we just want to show pretty pictures of ourselves and pretty lives, and it's really hard because it breeds this perpetuating narrative that we are only valued by what we're seen to be doing, like, who I'm socializing with, where I'm going, where I'm traveling, what I'm eating, what school of yoga I'm going to, and just kind of valuing this kind of package, how many children I have, what a dog I have, what cat I have, where I live, what I have as a car, all these physical ways we define ourselves and put value. And it's an interesting one because it breeds a lot of kind of maintaining status. It breeds this sense of fear of missing out, this imposter syndrome, and this sense of feeling like a fraud because the exterior package doesn't feel or seem like the interior package. And so it gives rise to this inability to trust, to connect, to surrender, because we're so invested on this exterior package of keeping up appearances. So the karma mala on the body, it has this dark hue of red and this kind of stained glass window that we are perceiving our life through. And through practice, what we're trying to do is help dissolve and lighten the hue where it becomes more transparent so we can actually see with clarity through that lens. However, when this karma mala is deeply stained, it actually masks and seeps into the next mala, which is Maya mala, which is the mala over the mind. And the mala over the mind identifies with the thinker. I am the thinker and I am my thoughts. And these thoughts really kind of wrap itself around this kind of ruminating around conditioned cultural consciousness, around nurture false beliefs, around reinforcing this negative bias that is constantly seeking out mistakes and faults in ourselves as well as other people. And it breeds this separateness because it's breeding more judgment and criticism on ourselves and other people. And this separateness actually gives rise to a lot of compare and despair. And again, the way that we communicate, the way that we use social media, the way that we are in this society breeds this kind of thought process of comparing our exterior and our interior. And then we overthink things. And there is this kind of despair of separateness that polarizes us to us and other. And we see it in politics. We see it in social issues. We see it in even yoga and my school's better than yours. And this is the way and this isn't the way. And it's a way of perception of difference that breeds jealousy, envy, and anger. So this Maya mala of the mind has this distortion and color of darkness that we're trying in practice to lighten so we can see through the thoughts and through our body and how we are living our life in this embodiment in our world. But this mala goes a little bit deeper and seeps and colors a deeper mala, which we call Anuva mala, which is the mala over our heart. And this one is associated with our feelings, our moods, our attributes, the felt sense of how we identify to our emotions. And Anu is a Sanskrit term for the smallest. And in this mala, it's pointing towards the smallest sense of ourselves, our ego. And in, say, for instance, the Yoga Sutras, our ego and the distortion of is called asmita, which is thinking more or less of who you actually are or what you are. So it's the arrogance of thinking more or less of who you are. So that smallest part of you, that smallest part of the ego, starts to be reinforced of feeling abandoned, separate from, orphaned from source, from the divine, from God. That there is this increased sense of self-will and pride that reinforces me, mine, I, and kind of has this attitude of, I was born into this world alone and I will die alone. And you perceive through these lenses of feeling, thought, and doership. And you go, everybody else seems like they're doing okay. Everybody seems like they're connected, and I don't feel connected. Everybody thinks, your perception is everybody's doing okay, and I'm not. And you feel more separate. You feel more alone. And it adds in this epidemic of loneliness. This adds in this kind of feeling that, you're apart. You don't belong. You don't feel safe. You don't feel that connection. And it gives rise to a huge amount of sadness, loneliness, and this depression of being a part of no thingness. So this mala really becomes a dense, obscure lens. And through these three lenses, the light of your pure consciousness that is a part of everything, we can liken it to the sun, another little metaphor I'm going to give you. And our individual consciousness, our individual awareness is like the blue sky. And our actions, our thoughts, and our feelings are like passing clouds. And if there's a storm that blows in, it completely obscures the sky as well as the sun. Even though it's daytime, we're like, no, the sun's out. We know the sun's out and the blue sky's out, but all I can see is a dark storm. And there's a part of that goes, no, the sun's still there and the blue sky's still there. It's just a storm. But there's a part of this going, this storm is who I am. And you identify, and I am that darkness, that weather that rips and is so cold or so hot. And it's like, that's who I am. But maturity shows that this storm will pass and the blue sky is always there and the sun's there. So what we're trying to do in practice of asana, pranayama, and vichara, of mindful reflection, is create practices that create heat for positive change. Physical heat, energetic heat, of that alchemy of working with the breath, that prana, to burn that pranic flame even brighter so the temperature goes up, but also that light burns brighter, and that sense of the light of intelligence, that you are able to see the light that guides you down the path, that tapas, that practice that creates that physical, energetic, and mental heat of concentration to burn away the clouds, to wash and rinse, polish these lenses so light can actually shine from within and we can receive the light from others and nature and exterior light. So there's a transference of a clear way in which we communicate our reality. So the practice, a lot of the time as you practice with me, I use a very kind of tantric way, weaving different concepts, different tools. And in this practice, we'll use mantra practice. And in that mantra practice, we connect to the meaning. And that meaning we reinforce. And it points us towards what we are, not just who we are, but what we are. And constantly trying to turn our attention back to it ourselves. And as the mind wanders in that limiting belief or limiting knowledge that gets trapped in, like, I am my thoughts when I'm doing yoga. I am my feelings. I am the sensations that are arising. I'm only reduced to what I can or cannot do. And our practice is there to provoke us. I'm going to give you poses that will make you question, am I only valuable if I can do the final pose, or doing first stage? Am I still valuable? And there's a lot of people who can do the most amazing things with their body, but inside, they are tortured by the storm, by the darkness, by the stain, by the veil of reducing themselves to their only worth is what they look like and what they can do with their bodies. So it's that sense of pulling ourselves out of our own veil of ignorance and stop valuing ourselves by what we're seen to be doing and what it looks like, and value that deeper kind of contemplation and realization of like owning and recognizing, pulling ourselves out of denial of the stain doesn't exist, that we recognize when we're trying to con ourselves, barter, rationalize, or cheat ourselves out of the experience, that we pull ourselves out of disconnect or disassociation, that we fall back in love with our embodiment, that we own our thoughts, our feelings, the sensations, because they're trying to teach us how to embrace with a humble heart our own humanity. Like, this is a hard thing, being embodied. And it's hard because it's constantly changing. It doesn't stay the same. But how can we embody this dance of embodiment, of this illusion of our life? How can we awaken to that illuminated emptiness, that abyss of loving awareness, and reunite us to the companionship of this loving presence, that we recognize this wakefulness, this pure conscious awareness, that it's around us, within us, as us, that it's longing for us to recognize it. And it gets so excited when we see it and goes, oh, you see me, I'm here. Isn't this amazing? And you're like, not so much. This thing called the human experience is really hard. Oh, love, I'm sorry. Come, let me hold you. Be here with me right now. Bathe in my light. And we get these little moments of bathing in that sea of serenity, and that moment of just like that fabric of rip through that lens that obscures the soul from that light, that fullness of what we are. And we get a taste of being boundless, being limitless. But we're human. That's why we have to practice. That's why I have to practice. I am so, I sound virtuous because I have these words. I love studying this stuff, and I might sound smart, but I'm not. I really am not. I have to practice this all the time because I get stuck in my stinking thinking. I get stuck in my emotional distress. I sometimes cannot stand the sensations of being in my body. But the only way that I know at the moment how to kind of manage the unmanageability of being embodied is by showing up for practice, yoga practice, my mantra practice, my meditation practice, going to my 12-step fellowship of Al-Anon, of being seen and humble myself and other people who are going through a similar thing that I go through. Having friends who hold space for me to be able to hold my crazy so I can kind of fall apart without feeling judged. Reaching out to therapists, reaching out to more than just one thing. It takes a lot. So know that this experience of yoga is a sevenfold process. It's not easy. That it's about self-awareness, and it's remission on a daily basis contingent upon your practice. And as we dive deeper into understanding, self-understanding, we find greater room to accept ourselves in life and practice this disciplined practice of showing up to become more self-actualized, to realize not just who we are, but what we are. And in this, there is a transcendence of old patterns as we put ourselves in the heat of our practice to transform ourselves, to heal, to grow, and to expand in our life. Those are the 7 stages of this practice we call yoga. But it takes practice. It takes showing up. It takes a lot of self-honesty, humility, courage to do this stuff. And we don't do it by ourselves. That's why coming to practice, coming to a yoga class that you feel a part of, that you feel safe in, that you feel belonging to, and that you feel like you're not alone during it. And whether you do it online and you feel a part of this, or you go to a physical studio, and at the moment we can't have access to a lot of physical studios. So I hope what I provide on my website and the access to different philosophical talks and applications to in those practices really help serve you, because it serves me. This is what I love to practice. This is what I love to study. This is what I love to share. And I want to say a huge thank you to those who are supporting me during this time, financially. Seriously, this is how I'm able to make a living right now, and this is the only way at the moment. But then also supporting me and kind of showing up and listening to this stuff, liking it, sharing it to other people, and just showing up in class, because seeing you guys, practicing with you guys, gives more meaning and purpose to my life, and it gives me that fuel to keep practicing you know, pointing me to what my purpose is, what I am, and clearing my pathway so I'm a conduit to be able to share these things with you guys. It's not the Zephyr show, far from it. That's why I kind of like want to make these teachings more available. So hopefully those who are teachers can use this to be able to inspire your students. You know, thank you to my teachers who open these doors to make this possible, to be able to pass it on. This is not a secret society, and I'm not interested in perpetuating a kind of spiritual hierarchy or an enlightenment retirement program. We're all in the same experience right now, and we're trying to find our way through this the best we can, and to be open, to be honest, to be humbled by our own humanity, and to show the defects, the shortcomings, the shadow side, and to offer practices to work with this. Yeah, I hope this serves you. So thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your support. And have a look on my website, zephyryoga.com. There's a lot more on there that you can play with, study with, and experience at your convenience. Thank you so much. Namaste. Bye, guys.